Hello, and welcome back to Kids Club. We have a very important topic today. All of our topics have been important, but this one is something that I hope we can really have a good conversation about. This week we are talking about safety. So just to review, last week we had continued to talk about responsibility. And remember that you are not responsible for another person's actions. No one has the right to hurt or insult you, even if they're upset. And we also looked at an example of a responsibility chart. So that was a way that you could help organize what your responsibilities were and keep track of them. And remember, as a kid, you have your own responsibilities and adults have theirs. And one of your biggest responsibilities is keeping yourself safe. So let's talk about what being safe means. We have a picture of a kid here all cozied up with some hot chocolate, which might mean safety for some people, but maybe not for you. This is just one example. Right now, I want you to think about, what does safety look like? We're going to go through safety using our 5 senses. So this first one, using your eyes, things that you see that make you feel safe. Think about that for a minute. Someone says when they see their older brother, that makes them feel safe. Yeah, if there's someone that we love and have a good relationship with and always takes our feelings seriously and does what they can to help make sure that we're safe, then seeing that person can help us feel safe too. Oh, someone says their friend's house. Yeah. So it can be a place too. Knowing that when you go to your friend's house that you can expect to see your friend and have a good time with them. Maybe there are certain spots of that house where you and your friend hang out, but that always feels like a safe space to you. Okay, let's think about, what does safety sound like? This one might be a little trickier to think about because we use our eyes for so much. But think if there are certain sounds that make you feel safe. Things that let you know that everything is going the way it's supposed to. Oh, someone says when they can hear their mom getting up and moving around in the morning. Yeah, that can be very reassuring. You're waking up after being asleep for a long time, but you can hear this person you feel safe with going through the house and starting their day. Yeah. What else? What are some sounds that remind you of a safe place? Music. Yeah, maybe there are some songs or types of songs that you usually listen to when you're in a safe place. And so hearing those can help you feel safer. Maybe it's when you're visiting that friend's house and you all listen to a certain type of music together. What does safety feel like? So this one is the sense of touch. Notice the boy or girl in the illustration here has a blanket wrapped around them. That's something that can help other people feel safe, is like the touch of a familiar blanket or comforting object. So maybe it could be that or something else. What's a touch that reminds you of safety? Favorite toy or favorite stuffed animal? That can be very comforting. Oh, someone has, when I was a kid, we called them worry stones. It's like a smooth stone that you can just rub in your hand. So something that maybe helps you feel better, that you can focus and concentrate rubbing that stone and calming yourself down. Yeah. Okay. This one might be a little different. What about taste? So talking about our tongue and our mouth, what are some things that when you taste them remind you of a safe place? This is probably going to be food for most people. Like the child in the picture has a cup of hot chocolate. Maybe that's a really special treat that happens when they're in a safe moment. A special dinner or lunch that was prepared for them. So when someone has taken the time to make food for us that we really love, sometimes that can make us feel safe. And maybe again, like at the friend's house, maybe there's a meal that their family has that you really like, and they always make sure they make for you when you're there. And that makes you feel really safe and comforted. And our last sense is smell. So what are some smells that remind you of a safe place? I remember growing up, one of my friends, her house always smelled like incense. And so, because I always loved going there, whenever I smelled incense, that made me feel really safe and happy because it reminded me of her. Do you have any things like that that you can think about for a minute? Some smells that might remind you of a safe place? School. Schools, each building has its own particular smell, doesn't it? I wonder if your school smell could be the cleaning supplies and a combination of all those different people coming from their homes and bringing that with them. But that smell that reminds you of that safe place where you have your community, your school friends and teachers. Maybe the crayon or pencil smells remind you of that too. The car. Yeah, I think cars have a certain smell too. So maybe if going for a drive is something that always makes you feel safe and connected to the person who's driving you, that certain smell can make you feel safe too. Okay. Let's talk about how we know when we're not safe. So here we have this guy. Some of you may know who this is. If not, this is Spider-Man. He is a superhero who has some abilities that spiders have, like shooting webs out of his hands. And he also has something called his spider sense or spidey sense that lets him know when he's in danger. So maybe it seems like he's alone in a room, but his spidey sense goes off and tells him, there's someone else here, or there's something dangerous in here. You have one of these too. Everybody has this kind of sense or this gut feeling that tells you when you're unsafe. It's your body's way of warning you something isn't right. So some people may call it instinct or gut feeling. You know, they feel it in their gut. But this is something that we have in our bodies to help protect us. Sometimes it can be difficult because maybe we feel that in our body, but when we're looking around, we don't necessarily see anything that looks unsafe. But your brain is working on a different level, on a more instinctual level, and saying, something isn't right here. So let's talk about this and try to think about what happens to our bodies when we do this, get this kind of gut feeling that something is unsafe. We're going to go to our whiteboard again. And once again, I'm attempting to draw a person. This can be our purple spider person. Here's their arm, leg, another leg. Whoop. And it's okay that this isn't perfect. All right, here's our spider person. Maybe we should give them spider eyes, like Spider-Man. They're winking. Okay, so just like when we talked about feelings in the body, remember that paying attention to our body can be a really good way to understand how we're feeling, or to really get in tune with those gut feelings of what's happening around us. So if you'd watched that video or were there for that video where we talked about feelings in the body, maybe think for a moment about what we talked about then. And if not, what we're going to do now is brainstorm together and think about what usually happens if we are in a scary situation or we get that feeling that something isn't quite right. Where do we notice that in our bodies? So just think about that for a minute. I know for myself, when I have that feeling, that spidey sense that something isn't right, I feel it in my neck. So I get kind of like a tingling, prickling feeling in my neck. And that is my cue that I know something isn't right. So that's one of mine. So I feel it in my neck. Oh, your stomach? Yeah. So I think when we talked about feelings, a lot of people, or a few people had mentioned that they have feelings in their stomach, that their stomach is a place to pay attention to. And when we're nervous or anxious, sometimes this can affect our stomach. And I think too, yeah, if you are feeling nervous or uncomfortable, you feel like something isn't quite right, you can get that same kind of queasiness or tight feeling in your stomach. Mm-hmm. Your hands, yeah, maybe your hands get shaky or sweaty. Mm-hmm. So we have a spidey sense here, one here. Danger, something isn't right. Anything else? Oh, it can be hard to breathe, or you start breathing faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you get nervous or scared, sometimes your body reacts by breathing faster or harder. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else? Any other parts of the body that you can think of that usually get affected when you are scared or uncomfortable, when you feel that something isn't right? I think this is, look at all these places on our spider person, but let them know something isn't right. This is a good thing to think about, because sometimes we can tell ourselves that things are okay, even when our body is telling us, no, something is wrong, something is scary. Maybe because we want things to be okay, or someone is telling us that things are fine. But if you're paying attention to your body and you know that something is wrong, really listen to that and understand that maybe you need to do something to help keep yourself safe in that moment. Let's go back to our okay. So to follow up with our conversation about safety today, you can practice your spidey senses. So when you do have those moments where you feel unsettled or scared, pay attention to your body and notice which parts of your body get affected. And that way in the future, if you have any doubts about whether something is safe or not, but you know, oh, I know I always feel it in my breathing when something is unsafe, then that lets you really listen to your body and know that you need to do something to make yourself feel safer in that moment. And also going back to the exercise we did earlier, think about that a little more. Using your 5 senses, think about what being safe feels like, or smells like, tastes like. And if safety tastes like chocolate cookies, maybe that's something that happens when you know you are in a safe moment, then that's something that you can go to, if possible, when you're having a moment where you don't feel very safe. And it's good to think about all 5 senses, because you may be in a place where you can't eat something. So maybe you go to touch. What's something that helps you feel better for your touch sense? Maybe you have a special blanket that wrapping yourself in it makes you feel a little better. So maybe you can't have the cookies, but you could wrap that blanket around yourself to feel better. So this is something you can do by yourself or with your trusted adult. Thinking about these things that help make you feel safe when you are in that place where you feel uncomfortable or scared. Next week, we are going to continue talking about safety. And we will talk about how can you prepare for when you don't feel safe. Remember that if you want to share a drawing or activity, or if you have a question, you can email that to our Gmail address right there with the permission of your trusted adult. And our videos are recorded and captioned and then posted to our YouTube channel, NB Kids Club. There's a long link there. Yeah, so any questions, you can just email that to our Gmail address. And for any adults watching, this is just some information about New Beginnings. We have a 24-hour helpline, 206-522-9472. You can call anytime. And these are some of the services that an advocate on the line can help you with. All right, thank you so much for joining me and talking about safety. We will continue our chat next week. Bye.